Good morning. My name is Glen Ray. I'm the president of the NAACP. With me this morning is Bernard Simonton, the president of the NAACP of the state of Alabama, and a couple of concerned citizens. We are here this morning because we have a concern of the injustice of what's going on in the community and in the area in Calhoun County. We have so many young men, black men, are being incarcerated for little or no reason at all. We see protests all over the United States, people protesting the injustice of black males. And it's no different here in Anderson. We are still protesting. I can share a couple of incidents that done happened right here in Anderson that I have witnessed in the courtroom myself. A young man went to court. They said that he had shot in a car. The man wasn't even in town, he was in Georgia. But the Anderson Police Department, Investigator Collins, testified that he had a witness that seen him in the car, and not only did they see him in the car, they seen him shooting. And the young lady that he said told him that got on the witness stand and said, "No, you lying on me. I did not tell you that. I told you that I was in the house and I didn't see anyone." Even though he perjured himself, this young man is going to be sentenced 25 years in the morning, 25 years in prison, because he was found guilty with nobody proving anything. And I can relate to that. And the reason I can relate to it, because I have a family member that have similar and went through the same thing. I have a son that was arrested on 2014 of May, going to get something to eat and end up in jail and sentenced. Not one person testified that he did anything wrong. No evidence was ever presented in the case. And the officer never logged in or logged out any evidence in the Anderson Police Department. Matter of fact, they said that they gave everything they had that very night to FBI Martin. FBI Martin is a field agent of the U.S. Attorney's Office. The U.S. Attorney's Office didn't file any charges. He sat in jail for 8 months, and then when he was released with no pending charges. A year later, after we have filed a false imprisonment, then they called in a favor. Ms. Joy Vance, who was over the U.S. Attorney's Office at that time, prosecuted him, saying that she was picking up the state case. State never had a case. If you go and check, there are nowhere on record that he was charged with anything in 2014. But yet, he went to trial and convicted. This can happen only to a black man. And I'm here today, and I'm going to kneel for justice, not only for the state of Alabama. I'm kneeling for justice all over the world. It's time for a change. It's time for a change in the city. It's time for a change in this country. When are we going to be right towards each other? I'm kneeling today to let you know that we are still hurting in this state, trying to hurt each other. Let's bring the Lord back in this country. Thank you so much. And I want to say this, my mother. This is my mother. My mother, and she don't like for me to tell her age, but I'm going to tell her today. She's over 90. Let me just put it that way. She's over 90 and plus. And I want her to say some things because they took my son out of her yard while he was there taking care of her. Now, we're going to get him out because the judicial system always going to do what's right. But nobody should have to go through this. Nobody. My mother is a field soldier. that even marched with Dr. King. My mother been around a long time.
Not that long.
Fighting for justice.
Amen.
And I just go ahead.
Can you say and spell her name for me, please?
Ollie Ray, Ollie, Ray. And every day she asks me, when are we gonna go get my grandson? And I tell her, Mother, in this country, sooner or later, justice was always prevail, because in this country, the judicial system always turn right. And if it continue to turn right, his number would come up and he'll be home soon. If anything you'd like to say.
Well, no, I'm just, I can't say I'm glad to be here. I'm sad to be here, because this is really not where I would like to be. But knowing and having to march in Anniston in the 60s, and we marched the streets here for justice, and you know, I just wonder how long is it gonna take before we really get justice. And I know, like I said, I know Glenn was in our yard when they picked him up that morning, and he was coming up there to help me out because I need help. And so I'm just wondering. Now, and I said when I got through marching in the 60s that I wouldn't, you know, that was it. Next time I march up to Kings Highway. But I'm almost tempted to try to march again. Right. The thing of it is, it's just sad, the situation. It's not enough love in the world. That's what's missing. Well, love toward each other. And as I say, I disagree with the president. We don't need walls. We need bridges to go across and love each other. That's what we need. And we need to get together. I would hope that during my time that, you know, I would see justice, but I'm still waiting.
Okay, my name is Bernard Simulton, spelled B-E-N-A-R-D, Simulton, S-I-M-E-L-T-O-N. And I'm the state conference president of the Alabama State Conference of the NAACP. I'm here this morning to stand with Glen and the Ray family on the injustice that has been served in this community. And if we look at a broader perspective throughout the state of Alabama, we see that there's still injustice being served on our young men and young women across this state. And then, as Ray has already said, when we look across this nation, we see that there's still injustice being served. Why is it in 2017 we're having to fight the same battles that we fought in 1960s? We thought that was done with. But we have a government that does not care about its people, particularly African-American young men. We see the prisons, they're filled with African-American men. And we have President Trump that's tweeting about everything. Why doesn't he tweet about the injustice that's being served on the people here in America, in particular the African-American men that are being served? Last week in Dothan, Alabama, we had a young man, Karan Davis, that had been in jail for over 10 years without a trial. And then when he was finally brought to trial, he was convicted. But there was no evidence to present it that was convict him. The eyewitnesses of the prosecution, they said they did not want to testify in his trial. But yet and still, the young man was convicted. And he's to be sentenced later on this month. These are the atrocities of the injustices that we're facing. That's why people are kneeling. That's why people are saying, they're not saying no to the American flag. They're saying no to the injustice that we see happening in America. And if that's what it takes to get the attention of our leaders in this nation, then so be it. We will fight, we will continue to fight, we will continue to kneel, we will continue to do whatever is necessary until someone hears us, until we have a criminal justice system. And when I say criminal justice system, I'm talking about the police department here in Anniston, Alabama. I'm talking about the sheriff department here in Calhoun County and throughout this nation. Those who are sworn to protect and serve this nation are not doing their jobs. And we call on police officers, we call on judges to look at what you're doing to our young men and young women that are incarcerated with no evidence against them by the mere fact of the color of their skin, because they do not have money to fight to overturn the cases that have been charges that have been levied against them. The NAACP is in a court battle with the state on how the appellate justices are elected. Right now, they're all elected at large. And what that means is there's a little or no chance of any African-American person being elected to the appellate courts in the state of Alabama. But if they were elected at district levels, then there's a possibility that there would be enough votes to elect a judge of our choice, an appellate judge of our choice. These are the things that we are fighting for here in the state of Alabama and throughout this nation. And we will not rest, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You don't know how important it is to get the word out. We sent out emails. We sent everything out to all the news and all the newspapers around. We sent everything out. But thank God we have Channel 6, Fox News, someone that we can depend on. Seems like they don't want the news to get out. Seems like that we boxed in. And as long as they're doing us wrong, they don't want the world to know what's going on here in Anniston, Alabama, but we need help here. We have too many corrupt judges. We have too people that's opposed to be defending you, the lawyers that they appoint to your case, throw you under the bus. And the kids do not have the money or the experience to try to fight them. Thank you so much. And I hope we can be able to get it out, to let people know that we still love our kids, but we even love this country even more. Thank you.
Glenn, about your son's case, you said that he's going to be sentenced or has
been sentenced
to 25 years. If they had no evidence, what did they do for a case? What was their case?
Dixie, that's a good question, and I'm gonna let you see the transcript, and then you can look over the transcript and see for yourself. Let me tell you something, Dixie. They arrested him on May the 1st of 2014. The Anniston Police Department, Officer Murphy, they never logged in evidence. It took me a year to get the discovery. And when I got the discovery, nothing was never logged in. And if you don't have any evidence, how can you go to trial? If you don't have any evidence, then you no longer have the case. He said I gave it to FBI Martin that night, but FBI Martin never testified and never showed up. So why did the judge even let it go forward? They never gave us a pretrial hearing so they can produce the evidence. They skipped over that because they were all in bed together. We are hurting because we have judges that's standing with wrong. We have prosecutors that's standing with wrong. We have police officers that think that they can just continue to get away with everything because nobody holding them accountable for what they're doing. And if nobody hold you accountable, it is not only my son is being locked up with no evidence, but not one person testifying that he did anything wrong. Not one. Not one.
You said that FBI Martin came and got the evidence at some point. How much evidence was it? Was it an ounce, 2 ounces? How much? Suppose allegedly.
Everything is hearsay because nothing was logged in. If FBI Martin came and picked up the evidence, let me tell you, they said it was a hard cookie was the evidence. But what they sent to the lab was wet, extremely wet. And I can let you read this here. Not only wet and extremely wet, it was like mashed potatoes. So why are you showing me a picture of a hard surface and then you come and testifying that what they sent to me was like mashed potatoes, then somebody would say, well, then you tamper with the evidence. How did it even get in the courtroom? It's getting there because one hand watching the other. They don't know anything about my son, and I'd like to know how much it costs now to lynch a black man. I'd like to know how much did it cost for the public defender's office, the federal public defender's office in Birmingham, Alabama. I'd like to ask them, how much did you get paid on a case that never should have went in the courtroom, and it was found guilty when nobody produced any evidence, nobody produced not one witness, and then not a warrant was ever issued in 2014. Not one. A warrant was never issued. I want to stress that. There was never a warrant issued. So how did you get it in the courtroom? And this is the facts.
Yeah, and how much was it that they claimed that they confiscated? I think I saw some pictures of
that 37.5 that they claim. But the thing of it is, you can put anything in writing and you can say anything. But the bottom line is, what goes on this transcript is the law. What was said here is the law. And I'm here to tell you, if you read this transcript, nobody should be in jail. If you read this transcript, some judges should be going to jail. Some prosecutors should be going to jail. And a police officer definitely should be in jail. If you read this transcript, nobody should be in jail off their own testimony.
I'm going back to FBI Martin. If he came out in the evening to pick up a few grams, right?
Correct.
Who does it at that time of night? It's not a shipment, a busload of contraband.
Well,
who gets up in the middle of the evening and do that? Don't they usually come in the next morning? But who's going to jump out and go out and get something that small that late at night?
You can just say anything, but not only that, who going to come out and get something? You got to change of custody. That means that if you come and get something from me, you got to sign for it. Right. You got to sign for it. There's no signature in the Arizona Police Department that anybody signed for anything. Not one signature. You just can't hand a person something and say, hey, here it is. This is the evidence. Take it without a change of custody.
So there's no evidence that it was logged in to the
Anderson Police Department. No evidence that it was ever logged in or logged out. Never.
Loopholes in it. Okay.
And there's nowhere that a charge would ever file in this case. And that's scary. That's very scary. That means that you can pick up anybody off the street and send them to prison.
Was he indicted? Sounds like he was at least indicted.
Indicted, you're correct. He was indicted from the federal, who said that I was picking up the state case. State never had a case. So you can't pick up something that never was there. And what did you tell the grand jury? You said possession. That means that you should have gotten somebody to testify, I got something off this man. Both officers testified that I didn't get nothing off of him and I didn't see nobody else get nothing off him. This on this transcript. We in this country are just lynching black men and getting paid for it. So I just want to know the public defender's office in Birmingham, the federal public defender. I think it's not Eric Hunter, but it's Kevin Butler who over that. I'd like to ask Kevin Butler, how much did he get paid for this case? Because I'd like to know what it costs to lynch a black man today.
Your son's name is?
Glen Ray Jr.
Glen Ray Jr., okay.
On the evening that they supposedly found this narcotics, where did they find that? His pockets? Was he sitting on it? Was it on the ground, on the floorboard of the car?
This is what they said. Said that he was sitting on it, and when they pulled him out, pulled one bag out, another bag fell on the ground. Because now we have videos. The video don't show that. They said that the picture that was on the scale was taken on the trunk of a car. They had body camera. It don't show that. These people can tell lies and take it into a courtroom and know they're going to get a guilty verdict because all they have to do is get 11 white and 1 handicapped black. And you going down the river if you're a black man. And that's what happened in this case.
So the lab, it's in the transcripts when the lab tested the substance, milky.
It's right here on page 103. I know the page. And then the page that he gave to the FBI is on page 30. I know it because I done read it over and over again. And still trying to say, how did a man get found guilty on this? I know each page where you can go look and see the testimony. Page 30, the FBI Martin supposed to receive it. Page 106 through and 109, where the young lady came from Dallas, Texas, and said what they sent me was wet, extremely wet. And not only that, it was mixed with, the chemical was different. In other words, he said he had 2 bags. But if you look at the scale, and I have the scale, I have it here, that's only 1 bag on that scale. That's showing 37. So, and I want you to see it and read it and look for yourself. We in this country need help.
When was his trial and when was he sentenced?
The trial was held, and it was a quick trial. It was held, I believe, in 2016. And it was held right over in that federal building over there. Right over here in Anderson, in that federal building. They didn't carry it to Birmingham. I guess they didn't want Birmingham to know how crooked it was. So they brought it over here in Anderson so they could feel comfortable on Raid Road and the black man in Anderson. And I'll let you look at the date and everything right here. I'll be more than happy to let you can video it and see it. Everything that I'm telling you, you can see it right here on the transcript. Any more questions, Dixon?
Are those photos you have?
Yes, I have the photo. I should have the photo or the picture. Hope I got it in here. If not, I get you some. The alleged concubine that's supposed to have been in his back pocket. There's no time stamp and no date on this. This is what they said was in his back pocket. A man that weighed 240 pounds, he's supposed to have been sitting on this. And if you look at it, the bag is not wrinkled, and the whatever that's in it is not mashed or cracked. It's a perfect picture. A 250-pound man cannot sit on something like this and come out and then it become a perfect picture. It just not happened. And there's no time stamp and date on this, so we don't know when it was taken or where it come from. And this would have been tucking on the trunk of a man's car at the scene at night. These people need to be in jail. You don't break up people's homes just because you hate the daddy. Because my son said that one of them told him, said, you tell your daddy to quit talking, we'll leave you alone. Tell your daddy. And I told him, I said, son, they forgot who the daddy and who the son. I'm gonna continue to do what's right. If they want me to quit talking, then treat people fairly. That'll shut my mouth. Amen. I'll quit talking, just do what's right.
That picture up again for a second? That was taken on the trunk of a car?
This was supposed to be, and it's on the transcript, supposed to have been taken on the trunk of a car that night.
What car? Anderson?
Anderson Police Department.
Their trunks are black when I see them over here.
Well, it could be an unmarked car though.
Some of them are white, okay.
But the thing of it is,
That's their story.
That's what they said, and it's on transcript. Okay. But I can tell you this. All of them had body cameras. The body camera should have picked up a car. If you took the picture, a body camera should have been able to pick up a car, and that's just my opinion. Any more questions? Okay, thank you so much. And I want to thank Bernard so much for coming down to stand with me, because Lord knows when things get heavy, you need somebody to lean on. And I want y'all to come and just look at page 30, FBI.
And can you say Bernard's last name and his title again? I know he's with the NAACP.
It's Bernard Simonton, I think it's on your camera, but Bernard Simonton, President of Alabama State Conference of the NAACP. Do you need me to spell it for you?
Oh, yeah, you can spell it.
Bernard is spelled B-E-N-A-R-D. Simonton is spelled S-I-M-E-L-T-O-N.
And I don't want to leave before I let this young lady come up. Come here, Kim. These are one of the parents that hurting in the city. Her son just going to the store. On the way to the store, he was pulled over. The officer came and said, look on the ground, and said there was a marijuana on the ground. And said, look what I found. Booked him in and charged him with possession first of marijuana. This is what we go through. And now, here's a mother got to try to help her son.
What's your name?
I decline my name.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Ray, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can.
What was your son's lawyer name?
Glen Ray. He was a prosecutor for the federal attorney over in Birmingham. I knew I was in trouble when I asked him about the pretrial, and he said that the prosecutor filed a motion not to have a pretrial. I knew then that I was in trouble, so I told my son, you better sit down because we finna go for a long ride. And he was smiling the whole time. Now, they did a good job on covering up themselves. If you read this transcript, they did a good job, a very good job. This transcript would tell you it shouldn't have been a conviction. But when they was getting ready for the closing argument, this is what he said. If my client had this amount of drug and the car that was driving the car had this amount, you can find him guilty, but find him guilty with a lesser charge. He planted the seed to the jury because nobody testified they got anything off of it. Nobody but his lawyer.
Is this a lawyer that you paid?
No, it was a public defender over in Birmingham.